Welcome to Mind Over Matter, where we feature young Jamaicans who are shooting for the stars. I'm your host, Margaret Boyne. Today, we step into the fascinating world of clay shooting through the eyes of a remarkable 16-year-old. She has won 17 awards from the National Shotgun Championships, including Ladies National Champion, 3 medals at the World English Sporting Clay Championship, and several others. With parents who have also written their names in the history of clay, she steps onto the range with a legacy to uphold and a future to define. We unravel the secrets behind her success. My guest is Aliana McMaster. Welcome to Mind Over Matter, Aliana.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations. You are the first Jamaican female to win a shooting medal in any category in Europe at the World English Sporting Clay Championships in England. Now, how does it feel to have accomplished this and you're just 16 years old?
I feel like I can't even process how big of a deal this really is, because to me, it's just a next achievement that I have attained. So it's not that I don't appreciate what I've done or I'm not grateful, but I just don't think I see how big of a deal this really is. So honestly, it feels good because I'm very proud of myself, and it's very few times where I feel very accomplished when it comes to certain achievements, that especially in shooting. So I've been really proud of this accomplishment specifically.
But many persons are not familiar with clay shooting. I myself wasn't. Can you tell us a little about it?
Sure. So basically, clay shooting, there's different types. It's normally known as skeet, but skeet is a different concept than sporting clay. But really and truly, it's all shooting the same clay target with a shotgun. So there's different types. There's it's kind of like there's different principles. So there's skeet, which is basically kind of like a semicircle with 8 stations. You'd shoot the same birds all throughout all 8 stations in a semicircle. And there's a high house and low house, and that's your pair. Sporting clay, you'd have different stations, and you'd basically be shooting pairs at those stations where it's just 2 birds coming out, and they'd give you the menu with what you're gonna shoot and how it's gonna be shot. So basically, what I mean by that is basically a report pair or a true pair. And a report pair is basically when one bird comes after the other, and a true pair is when both birds fly at the same time. And then there's others like 5-stand and feet-ask, and it goes on.
Okay. And when you say birds, these are not live birds, right?
No, these are not live birds. They're simply just targets that we call birds.
So you're shooting at a moving target?
Yes, we are.
Oh, so would you say then that speed and accuracy has to match?
I think that speed for sure. Accuracy comes into play more when it's when there's distance. So the farther the target is, the more accurate you have to be and able to even get a chip off of that bird. Rather than you could really be way off of the bird, but if it's really close to you, chances are it will still break.
Okay. Would you say, or would I be right then if somebody said that you're a sharpshooter? That would be true.
I do take the compliment that it does come around quite often. So
okay.
Yeah.
So how did you get into clay shooting?
I actually got into it because of my parents. So my dad started through a friend, and then my mom started, and then my sister started, and my other sister, and then me, because actually it came from a shoot. We were coming back from a shoot that we normally go to yearly. That was the driftwood shoot. I don't remember what year, but I was like, I'm tired of spectating. I'm tired of just following you guys around in the car. I'm tired of doing all of this. So if I'm gonna be here, I might as well do something.
Right.
So I started off in grade 5, and then that was in the January, and by the February I had my first lesson.
In grade 5?
Yes.
Okay. So that means that you were probably 9 or so?
Around 10, turning 11.
So were you able to manage that shotgun? Wasn't it bigger than you were?
That's actually why I didn't start sooner.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I was willing, but my mom especially didn't want me to because I was just a lot smaller than everybody else, really.
Oh.
So they were like, "Oh no, it's gonna hurt, it's gonna hurt her." And even when I did start, they were still worried. I mean, yeah, it gives you a little bit of bruising if you're smaller, but you get used to it. You don't really feel the pain after. It's like every other sport, really. Like
Yeah.
every sport's gonna come with some sort of like fatigue or something like that. So you get used to it. It doesn't hurt anymore unless you actually do something wrong, which is like every other sport, like I said.
So what kind of shotgun do you use
So
usually?
I use in competition, I use an F3 Blazer over and under, which is just basically a fancy way of saying a manual gun.
Oh.
Um, and so yeah.
Oh. So you mentioned your parents. Your father is Ray McMaster and your mother is Wendy McMaster, who they're also national champions. So tell us about, the learning opportunities that they have provided you with.
I think that them shooting has a lot to do with my own success in the sport currently. They do give a lot of guidance, and a lot of parents won't be able to understand really what the child would need to hear in that instance. So my mom does a lot of the encouragement part and a lot of the mental strength, basically. I mean, my dad does it too because we do have our own friendly competition in practice where we both build our mental strength and pressure each other, and it's very fun. But my mom, she can see when I'm kind of tearing down mentally in the middle of the tournament. She's very encouraging and she really helps me to push through. And my dad will be more on the like the technique side almost, and kind of he will also talk to me a lot about mental strength as well. But a lot of the time I normally practice with him. I basically almost everything related to shooting with him. So yeah, they play a big part in my whole journey.
Okay. So both your parents are on the Jamaican team as well?
Well, they were on the team for the World English, so yeah.
Okay. So how does that feel? Going to this championship with both your parents, they're on the same team.
Well, it was nice to see everybody dress up, really. So we could take nice family pictures along with my sister
Yes.
that was also on the team. So that was a good photo op opportunity. So for the family. But normally when we go overseas, I'm traveling with both parents anyway. So it almost just felt like a next like family trip for us
Okay.
because other than the squadding that they had, because if you're on a team representing a country for that championship, you have to squad with your team only. And if your team isn't big enough, then you're mixed with other people that aren't a part of it.
Okay, so having such well-known parents in the sport, is that added pressure or motivation?
It was more of motivation for me because it was always like, oh, it's so cool you see your mom achieve so many things, your dad achieve so many things. And it's like you kind of went in going like everybody knew who your parents were. I didn't really feel like anybody had an expectation of me until I started performing myself. So now it's kind of like a pressure of, oh, what is she gonna shoot this time or whatever. Like people are always like kind of checking the scores and whatever so that they can kind of keep up and just basically following how I'm performed. So it's more that, oh, people are gonna always be coming up to me and saying, what do you shoot? What do you shoot? Or sometimes they ask what my parents shoot as well, a lot of the time, depending on the whole situation of that specific tournament they'll ask.
Yes. So competing against your mother now. Can you tell us of any memorable moment then when you and your mother went head and head and who won?
Okay, so normally I think the more intense times are when we're in the middle or like coming closer to the end of the 100 bird like rotation. And normally my dad would be the one to check the scores between us. because personally, I'm not looking at any scorecard. I'm not looking at my dad. I'm not looking at anyone. I'm not looking at mine. So he'd normally be the one, and I kind of like once I see him doing that, like I can kind of pick up on what he's doing, and so and sometimes I won't know specifically, but I'll know that it's close, and I know she knows that it's close as well. So then that can kind of build untold tension basically between the two of us, and it's not for the other person to do worse, it's just for us to do better, basically, in the sense where so that we just don't mess up for our own. So it's not for the other person's worse, basically. It's just so that we can put in a better score at the end of the day. Other than that, an evident one, I didn't feel any tension in this instance, but we did have a shoot off last year where we went, I think, for ladies first in a sub event, and I think I did win that shoot off. So.
Okay.
So,
boy, I'd love to see both of you in action, man. You need to invite me one of these days.
Sure, I definitely will.
So do you have the same technique? Or
no. Because I think, especially in Jamaica, where the college is for shooting, it's more birdbush oriented, because I feel like more people put in the effort and have more interest in the actual just like the whole lime of birdbush and the enjoyment and the adrenaline that goes behind it, rather than taking sporting clay seriously. So I feel people adapt their own kind of method of shooting, and some work for some don't work for some. And I kind of just take my methods inspired by basically more professional shooters in America. I'm currently doing lessons with Wendell Cherry, so he's the main person guiding me right now in how to shoot really and how to be better and more consistent. My mom does also take lessons from him as well, but she also does like a mixture of Bill McGuire, who is also a very good professional shooter.
When was the first time you represented Jamaica? And how old were you at the time?
Officially representing Jamaica, I would say last year, because that would have been for, you say that you go for the team, so then you say you represent Jamaica, but obviously when people ask, oh, where are you from? You're from Jamaica. And then when you perform, so I'm kind of known as like, oh, I'm the girl from Jamaica. The first time I went overseas, really, that would be maybe 2021, I think, and that was only 2 years ago, so 14.
How do you mentally prepare though for competitions?
A lot of mental preparation that goes into it is just kind of avoid thinking about like the whole weekend, because you don't want to get into your head and then you're automatically gonna start building expectation of yourself, and then you end up over trying. So then everything from the week before, even the day before, has a domino effect on what happens in the actual sporting clay match. So a lot of the times when I was at least coming up to this point, now it doesn't really work so much, but I normally would just completely forget all about it. I just put it at the back of my mind. It would be the last thing. I'm like, oh yeah, I have to go shoot tomorrow. And then I'd forget about it, and then I'd be like, okay, let's go shoot. And I'd go shoot, and that was it. But now the stakes kind of raise every time you go to shoot, because you're progressing as a shooter and you're becoming better. So then the mental aspect of it becomes a lot harder. And that's currently something that I'm really working on now, and that's has a big part to play in being consistent. So now mental preparation goes kind of just reminding myself of things I already know, and especially to keep calm and relax and stay focused, because otherwise, if you don't really keep focused on what's in front of you, you're gonna miss it completely.
Tell me a little about your training regimen. How frequently do you have to practice and so on?
So with my schedule now, it's once a week. That can give you a lot of steady progress, but to compete where I want to be, you'd have to be shooting as much as possible, really. But unfortunately, once to twice a week is as much as I can get in, especially with school starting to really pressure down now since I'm going into fifth form. And so once a week really is ideal, at least, but twice a week will be the picking up like pace for going into season or preparing for a big event, or just even to work on something so that I can help progress faster and build that kind of technique or knowledge really that I've recently learned.
You'll be going into fifth form at Campion. So how have you been balancing school and, playing the sport?
It's very difficult because for my sports, I have to literally be outside of the country for me to represent for that period of time, because I can't leave for the weekend to shoot 600 birds. Like, that's not possible in the 2 day span. Besides, I'd get worn out. So I'd have to leave from the Tuesday to start shooting Monday. I mean, to start shooting Wednesday. And a lot of teachers are not happy about that. They do not want you. They do not want you missing your classes. Sometimes they'll be like, okay, well, you have to get this assignment done now, and I kind of already knew that because I wanted to. I have to maintain my grades, otherwise I won't perform well at my already academically competitive school, and I won't maintain the average that I already have for me to continue going on the trips, because my parents will not allow not allow shooting to take over my life. No matter what, the education will always come first, and I will never be able to get out of that.
So you'll be doing CSEC soon. So do you have to kind of cut down on shooting?
Unfortunately, by quite a bit. So I have to really see at first how it started when I was going away. I think my start of third form year or in the second form, I left twice. One was during a holiday, and one was during the week, but that was fine because it was only a one-time thing. In third form, at the end of third form, maybe like January going down to almost May, I left, I think, 1 week for almost every month. And I think I left 2 weeks actually in February. So that caused a real struggle in maintaining school, especially since online school was the thing back then. So that was not an ideal mode of school either. So it was very difficult to keep up with that as well. So now doing it in fourth form, third form and fourth form has shown me that they are not the same. And especially all the knowledge you learn in fourth form will relay on into fifth form. So everything will have to cut down by at least half of what I'm doing. So maybe I'll get to go for 3 if I'm lucky for the year. Hopefully there will be some after CSEC that I can go to. So it will be very tragic for me.
Have you thought about your career path? I mean, what will
yeah, I have. I'm gonna study business with culinary to back that up, and I think I'll probably go into like more of advertising and marketing, probably when it comes to business side, but I'm not completely sure, but I know that's the direction I'd like to go in.
What is your ultimate goal in clay shooting?
Honestly, to get as good as I could possibly be, to just unlock my full potential, because some people don't reach to that point, and it's not about any making money or just being like beating everybody or whatever. It's just to see how far I can go personally, because that's all it's really about. That's all you can control.
Do you have any advice for anyone who wants to start out in clay shooting?
Sure. I would say that even if you think that you can't aim or anything like that, it's really not about aim whatsoever. And all you really need to do is go and try and see if you like it. And once you do, just keep being consistent. Once a week will get you a far way. And once you really start to take it seriously, I think you should take the necessary steps for you to progress further. But really and truly, all you really need to do is just start. Anybody can do it.
Okay. What do you think, though, Aliana, has been the reason for your success in the sport?
I have been told that natural ability plays a big part in it. I was recently told that by my coach. And I think there's a lot of discipline, because if you're not disciplined, especially mentally, so in a sense where you don't self-motivate yourself to go further, I don't think that you'll be very successful in the sport, really, because it takes a big part of you, and it really forms you as over time into a very calm and mature person. A lot has to do with self-discipline, and as well as support from my parents. That plays a big part too, because when you're shouting down place or for the bridge and saying, "Oh, I don't want to do this anymore, I can't do this," or whatever, they're the ones saying, "Well, you're gonna do it anyway, and you're gonna learn from this." So support and discipline plays a huge part.
Well, I'm giving you a chance to thank anybody who has helped you along this journey.
I'd like to thank my parents. And they're really, without them, I probably wouldn't be in the sport. So I really have to thank them a lot. And honestly, they're probably the best set of parents for me, and I couldn't ask for any better. And I'd like to thank my coach, Wendell Cherry, because he's played as well a big part in me developing my knowledge about the sports and how to go about certain things that you will face in the sport. So I'd also like to thank Sean. That was my coach before Wendell. He definitely put some solid foundation into the whole shooting, basically in just the basics of what I needed to know and where I needed to go. He really guided that very smoothly. And
it was great talking to you. I also learned a lot about clay shooting when I decided to interview you. I had to really do some research on this thing. But it was great talking to you. And I'll be watching you and, watching how you progress. And I want to wish you all the best in fifth form, your C-Sec year.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah.